Hello, and welcome to the Goodman Youth Farm. We are a program of Community GroundWorks based in Madison, Wisconsin. We partner with the Madison Metropolitan School District to use this 5-acre parcel of land on the city's east side to provide hands-on, farm-based education to students of all ages through field trips and summer programs. We're excited to show you around the farm today.
This is our largest growing area. The total garden is about half an acre, but we grow over 50 different types of fruits and vegetables, and everything we plant with the students that come in their field trip groups.
Welcome to our bean teepee. You can see that we have fabricified it as an art project just to make the garden look colorful. These poles were harvested from balsam fir in northern Wisconsin about 2 years ago. They've held up really well. They're about 14 feet long, but you could definitely do this with smaller poles. And along the edges of the teepee, we have planted some sunset runner beans and scarlet runner beans that we've been working on training and adding string with the kids so that hopefully by the fall they're up to the top of the teepee. Around the teepee we have what's called a tiptoe garden with little swales. It's a little weedy right now, but we have made this into our flower garden. And kids love coming in here in the late summer and early fall and watching for pollinators and picking flowers.
This is our cucumber trellis, and it was built by a group of high schoolers, and we helped them out with that. But right now we have sour gherkin cucumbers growing up the sides. Our wash stations, these were also built by middle schoolers. As you can see, we have these tubs that we fill with water, and we can wash all of our produce that we harvest in it. We also have these screens that what vegetables can be set on, or we can pick off dirt or roots, and then you can flip up the screen and just tap it off and get it nice and clean.
Just some simple benches next to the wash station that we use when kids are done washing or with whatever activity is nearby. And we simply built them by stacking 3 2x4s, short pieces together with a 2x8 on top. And to control weeds, one of the techniques we've also been using this year is these large black tarps that we get left over from a billboard company, and those work wonders to solarize the weeds. We move them around the garden as we are looking ahead to cultivate in different areas. This is an area that we call our fruit tree guild. Concept we borrowed from permaculture theory. We have 7 fruit trees planted in here, planted 3 years ago, and 2 years ago we killed all the grass and established perennial plants. Most of them are edible herbs and flowers around the trees to keep down the weeds and help us out with the mowing crew who did not like mowing in between the trees. So this has benefited them as well, and it's a fun area to take kids to explore for different smells and tastes. Our bucket compost sifters. When we have large field trips, we will get out 10 or 15 of these at a time. The kids will learn about the compost and then sift it to the screen, and then in the bucket they have the sifted compost that they put right onto the garden, and what's left on the top goes back in bin number 1 or 2 to get recomposted. These are a really simple design. These boards are 1x2s, pretty cheap at the hardware store, and then this is 1/4-inch hardware cloth. And we basically just make a sandwich of the boards with the hardware cloth in between. These also were a middle schooler building project. This is our outdoor kitchen setup. We store these tables in our shed, move them back and forth at the beginning and end of every program. We can, at 2 tables, work with about 12 to 13 students at a time. We use these black action packer bins to store our non-perishable cooking ingredients. They are rodent-proof and waterproof. These little stands here we use as teaching stands. Sometimes we display the recipe on them or keep anything that the leader might need for the recipe that the students won't need right away. We also have a bicycle blender that we use often in our cooking. This is our outdoor wash sink. We have 3 bins for soap, regular rinse, and diluted vinegar water for washing. The water drains into these buckets. There's not actually running water to the sink. We fill it just with the hose. And then we have a tarp system for keeping this dry. Simply roll down this tarp and it's weighted at the bottom. We're lucky here to have a fairly large program shed. This is where we keep all of our supplies. We use a lot of labeled buckets for storing things like trowels, and educators will take those buckets out to the garden with them, the whole bucket for setting up activity. Milk crates are great for storing gloves unless they're wet, and then we hang them on our little drying rack here. All of our tools. We have this nice organizing system that was built by some staff a few years ago that has worked really well. And we also have special buckets. We have so many buckets here. We use them for so many things. These green labeled buckets are specifically for harvesting, so they stay pretty clean. We also have buckets that are designated as stake and string buckets. And in that bucket, we keep mallet, measuring tape for outlining a garden bed, and a planting rope. All of our kitchen supplies in these mesh cabinets, which we built a couple of years ago. We had some rodent problems, but also problems with dishes not drying out. So we constructed basically a mesh box on stilts with mesh shelves so that we can keep all of our dishes in here. We try to
seed library. Inside we have packets of seeds that were collected by our students last fall, and we have a design on the front that was also designed by a student with a printing block. On the back we have information, and then this is also the area in which we have our mushroom logs. These are logs that we've inoculated with mushroom plugs, which you drill holes into the log and then you pound the little plugs in with a hammer. The kids had a great time doing that, and hopefully in a year or two we will have mushrooms that we can use in our kitchen.